This is your last margin call with your hosts, Beck and Tim.
All right, it is December 14th. Our topic today is going to be trading with a job. It's a lot of things that people have to do and deal with in the trading world, and I think I want to even put a number out there that probably about 99% of traders out there are probably trading with a full-time job, part-time job, and they're not actually doing this professionally. So this is a topic I think everybody... Or well. Something that just dealing with and knowing how to manage and not thinking that you need to trade like someone who has a non-full-time job, who's a professional or whoever. Tackling this issue is the biggest thing that people need to try to handle. Like, I think it comes even before a technical analysis or anything, is knowing how to manage your time in order to even trade. So I think it's a good topic for tonight. Before we get started though, since we drink all throughout the podcast and we get a little bit buzzed as it goes on, I want to know what everybody's drinking out there. Bear, what are you drinking?
Same as usual. Members Mark rum from Sam's Club, $14.99 for the entire handle of it, so can't beat that. And then I went back to Coke Zero because that self-made bubbly water soda was just pure garbage. Couldn't handle it, so I'm spending the extra 5 cents.
Are you going to try something different ever?
Tim, it's funny you asked that. I've tried many different alcohols in my life, and I've determined that after growing up on a farm with Milwaukee's best, you go back to your roots of cheap alcohol and spending your money on other luxuries. So while you're spending your money on fancy chocolate syrups to pour around the rim of your cup, I'm enjoying my cheap rum and, throwing money at other stupid things.
All right, well, that's fair
like
enough.
Telescopes.
All right. Jay, what are you drinking?
I've got a Freedom's Choice purified water, purified by reverse osmosis, but I am still buzzed from last night.
Okay, fair enough. And there's no plans of drinking throughout all this at all again? Like, I feel like someone's on a sobriety test here going through this.
Well, when you make a trade when you're hammered and lose like $2,000, I mean, you kind of have to reset back to reverse osmosis.
Yeah,
reverse osmosis. How many of those have you had so far?
This is number 2, Tim.
All right. And
number 2, horrible losses off of drunk trading, or number 2, water?
That's a tough question.
See, because I'm gonna berate you until you stop making stupid decisions.
I like
That's
it.
fair. I appreciate that.
Looking out for you. Yeah. All right, and
it was a bad trade.
And Ham, what are you drinking?
I don't have any soundboard ready, so I just banged on my...
That was horrible.
Top 5 worst things you've
I'll see if I can go back in there and edit in something.
Okay, first off, you kind of threw me off because somehow I'm on the back of the bus today.
Yeah.
Haven't we discussed this?
Ooh, that's true.
Yeah. I wanted to see how you'd react to it, so I threw Jay in there like second to last.
It's not second to last, second.
Yeah, but
Tim.
it's still second to last.
I mean, give the guy some... He finally gets put up in line and you're going to say second to last?
Yeah, you gotta make sure he knows his
second
place
first.
there.
Anyways, I'm drinking La Freg.
What is that?
It's a whiskey, scotch.
Is it with like the cherry barrels? The one you were talking about?
It's very smoky. I got the cask strength 10-year.
Oh.
It's pretty expensive, so I'm saving most of it to sneak into the movie theater when I go see Star Wars on Friday.
Oh, I'm going to see it Thursday. I'm going to spoil everything for you.
What? Like Chewbacca dies? Or I'm not supposed to say that. Whoops.
If that turns out to be true, your life is over. I will fly wherever you are.
No. There's been rumors for that for like 5 months now, Tim.
Well, they kill off everybody in the last trilogy, so I mean...
No, there's been rumors about that for like 5 months.
Yeah.
Because of shit.
Whatever, that's fine. All right, so we're gonna dive into this topic. We got a couple questions lined up from people through DMs, through some people that replied on Twitter, asking for us to tackle a couple questions. But the whole topic of tonight is trading with a full-time job, part-time job, something that just where trading isn't your main focus of income; it's a secondary thing. The people that we got here today have at some point in their life traded with a job, still trading with a job, and making it work. And we're trying to figure out, like, what's a actual strategy that someone can use, what's the mindset someone can use. But before we actually do that, I want to just know, like, what people are kind of dealing with currently with their trading. Bear, are you dealing with a full-time job and trading? How are you going about it?
Yes, Tim. I have a full-time job. I am a principal human factors engineer in the defense sector, and keeps me pretty busy. So I have a lot of meetings during the day, and but most of the time I'm near a computer or I have my phone.
So,
but yeah.
A quick little thing just so that people have a perspective of it, because I mean everyone can think like full-time job, sitting at a desk, I can just check my phone, or I can whip open a new browser, check this and that. Honestly, like, how much time do you have where you can actually stare at price action during the day?
24 hours.
Probably total combined, I don't know, like an hour and a half where I can actually sit there and look at it. I don't stare at it. I mean, I'll kind of keep it off to the side while I'm working.
Okay.
If I'm sitting somewhere, but a lot of my work is in areas where I can't have any devices or anything in there, so at those times I have zero access to it.
Okay. And Jay, like, do you have a full-time job? Are you trading while you're at your job? Are you trading while you're not at your job? Or what's your situation?
Yeah, I work full-time, Tim. To make things simple, I'm a sysadmin.
Okay.
So I have access to a computer at all times, but it doesn't mean I'm always at that particular one, since I have to work on a bunch of other computers and networks.
Okay.
So,
and
and I also, like Bear, I work in an area that I can't really have my phone on me.
Okay.
So sometimes I got to run out if I see something setting up, or if I don't have access to actually trade because I'm blocked or something.
And what would be a general time that you would say that you can actually sit down and watch something move while you're at work?
I can't really watch it per se, but I can set alerts and listen for them, and then turn around and see what's going on. So I'm set up for success in that aspect.
Okay. And Ham, what's your situation? I believe you're full time.
I just push buttons for money, Tim.
Okay. But there was a point where you were at a job and trading, right?
There was, Tim. I didn't randomly find money.
There you go. So when you were doing that, so just to keep the topic going, how often were you trading while you were at work?
All day, Tim. They didn't like it.
My wife just walked in and asked what the popular opinion on ham was.
You know what? I'll take that.
All right. Did your job that you had offer you the ability to just check whenever you wanted, or were you in a situation where it's like Bear or Jay, where you had meetings to attend to, where like you just have to not be able to watch anything?
Of course, there were always situations where I might have had to do something, but for most of the time, if I did my work, I was allowed to kind of do whatever I wanted, as long as my work was good and got it done.
Okay.
So it was. So
what did you used to do?
No issue. Real estate and stuff.
Excellent.
That's nice. You get like free reign to pretty much do whatever.
Yeah.
As long as it was good, but if it wasn't, then they'd be bitched. But I'm just like good at everything except speaking, because that's popular opinion.
Popular
speaking, spelling, but beyond that, you're good to go. Pretty squared away.
All right, so we all have some experience of trading under situations where we may not be able to watch during market hours how things play out, or we enter a trade and all of a sudden we get a phone call from my boss, or a meeting is getting emergency meeting, whatever type of thing. A client says their computer's down. Just anything that's going on in your life. So we all have some type of experience trading that. The thing that probably people, when they want to hear about this type of topic, is what do we do to set ourselves up so that we can still make money off this, and we're not just walking in there like it's a casino, like, hey, put money on 5 black and walk away to a something else, and then hopefully come back after it's done and we won money off of that. So let's talk about just the things that we do when we are actually trading. Like, are we looking at shorter time frames? Are we looking at only longer time frames? If we know we have 5 minutes, are we taking a 5-minute trade? Or are we, sneaking off to the bathroom for 10 minutes and taking, little time to handle ourselves while we do that? So tell me what you guys do to handle your trades while you're at work or when you were working. So Bear, why don't you start us off?
For me, it really depends. I like doing longer plays for the most part. So I'll usually research those at night, and I like looking at the contract awards and everything like that to help me make decisions on what long plays I'm going to take. And then I'll just, eyeball what's going on during the day on those. But if I decide to take a scalp during the day, generally I'll try and use a 5-minute chart. And what I have found that I personally do is I won't take a trade now that doesn't have at least a trailing stop on it, because if I get pulled into some random meeting or something like that, I need some way to be getting stopped out of it if I can't watch it, especially if I have to go into a secured area where I can't have my phone.
Right.
And so, but I'll take those trailing stops and I'll put them a lot wider than I generally would if I'm sitting there watching it, but as soon as I have to leave, I'll tighten it up. So that's kind of how I do it.
Now, I've known you long enough to the point where I know that you didn't always have trailing stops available. Do you feel like there's a substantial difference between you trading in the past and you trading in the past? How about this? And then the ability to use that trailing stop now. Do you feel like you profited more off of that? Do you feel like it's kind of the same? Do you feel like that could maybe be an X factor, is entering that trade, just placing a trailing stop and walking away and be like, whatever happens, happens?
I would say in previous positions I could watch a lot closer, so I don't think that I wouldn't say that I needed it as much, because I still think that I need them, but I didn't rely on them as much. But I do think it's helped me quite a bit to at least limit losses, because previously I got stuck in situations where I entered something and then got pulled away and then came back and I was down, way more than I should have been, because I didn't have the ability to put a stop in there. So I think that has been a big catalyst for me, being able to lock more gains in and let my winners run, as they say. And
So when you're talking long, though, how long are we talking? Just for real quick, because when people say, "Oh, I'm in a long trade," long could mean hours for some people. It could mean days. It could mean weeks. What's long to you?
For long, actual long-term ones, where I research them at night and look up stuff about the company and stuff, I try and do a minimum of 6 months on those.
Okay.
But then even for intraday scalping, I try and give myself at least a week. I don't really like doing weeklies, but I've been doing it a little bit more lately, which is kind of, I'm still kind of learning about it, and it's not great with my new position, so I've moved back to pushing it out, giving myself a
kind
week
of front
or two
month
on,
front month's essential. Okay.
Yeah. When I'm doing options, so, which is basically all I'm doing right now. So I like giving myself at least a little bit of time on them.
All right, and Ham, when you were trading, or if you have any advice for people who may be doing this, or if you don't have any at all for this, what would be your take on this whole thing of, if you're at a full-time position, what could someone use to kind of give them an edge, knowing the fact that they won't be able to watch things?
If it's a low liquidity chain you're playing, it has a high spread, or not a lot of volume, do a set up so you can put your. Actually, you can't do it on. But I would say set up your stops so it's based off the underlying instead of the chain. Because sometimes if it's low volume chain, it can drop down and do like one contract just to stop everyone out to be a dick.
Yep.
But if it's based off the underlying price, they can't really move that down.
Right. So like only when, I know a lot of people use Robinhood, and Robinhood doesn't have that feature. I believe TD does though, right?
Thinkorswim should.
Okay, I know that
even most retail platforms, anything but Robinhood should probably have it.
Okay, so if you're trading that and you're looking for you're in an options contract or whatever, and it hits that underlying of, let's say it's 38 for just a random price and it's trading at 38.01, you're not getting stopped out just because the contract is that low, but you're getting stopped out because of the underlying is that low.
I think to avoid that though, it'd be easier just don't play illiquid options.
Yes.
If you have a full-time job, play something that has a lot of liquidity. Focus on the most liquid options and not out the money. I would say at the money would be best. The most liquid options you can find, so that you don't get stopped out as much on bullshit.
All right.
And if you do get stopped out, you're not paying the piper too much. You're not like getting stopped out for like 20%.
Right. Well,
on some of the spreads.
I do want to tackle a couple of forms of this, of playing options with a full-time job, and some of the people that have DM'd me and some of the people that have replied to our things have talked about playing futures with full-time jobs. So I'll try to dive into you for that side of things, of what you could do that, and then we'll handle some of the option side of things. But Jay, go ahead.
I cannot wait, Tim.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Jay, how are you trading it, like how Bear was describing? Is there an edge that you have that you feel gives you security in taking trades while you're at your job, or are you trying to play it like a full-time trader? Give me some insight on what you're doing.
At work, I try and look as busy as possible.
Let me say one thing first.
All right, go ahead.
No, this is good. Jay lives in Japan, so his time frame different.
Yes.
Difference is
I did not mention.
So you should explain that. So like his after hours is our hours.
He lives in Japan. So. He works for, and his social security number is.
No, but that's important because it's a different time zone. Yeah. Because when he's trading during the day, he's actually playing after hours.
Yes, sorry. Yeah.
So that's completely different than playing market hours.
There's actually a couple of people that have been DMing me that live in Europe. There's Jay that obviously lives in Japan. So the difference in times and the schedules that it works, I think sometimes Jay has to stay up pretty late in order for some things to happen sometimes, or get no sleep at all. So that's actually, thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you, Tim, but I don't like it first. You kind of gave me the cold shoulder.
Say when he's using the Dom, he's trading off Kenichi Wall.
That's good.
I enjoyed that.
You're welcome, America. And Japan.
All right, but Jay, tell us what you feel like gives you an edge or confidence in taking a trade while you're at work.
So I won't talk about my employer, but they're good, and my job usually isn't a huge workload. It's more about maintaining the status quo rather than constantly doing new stuff.
Okay.
So I have a lot of time to just have charts pulled up, or have my platform up and just kind of listen for alerts. And I just set up a whole bunch of alerts all over my chart. And as soon as I hear a noise, I'll turn around and check it out and see if it's time to make a play, or see if it's time to sell, or something like that.
So just something to make sure that you're not just constantly watching it every second of the day. So setting alerts, and when that alert goes off, you pay attention. Are you resetting alerts after that alert goes off, so that it gives you, okay, I don't like it here because even though that alert went off, I'm looking at it. It's just something to remind you of what's going on, essentially, or are you genuinely taking plays off of every alert?
Oh no, I just set alerts to see. I just want to know that price is moving in a direction, and I can start getting ready.
Okay.
So I just have a crap ton of alerts that are always on. They don't go away once they hit. So even if a candle bounces on like one of these lines, it'll keep alerting every time. So
Okay. I think
that kind of gives me a bit of an edge. I think being able to listen for that.
I think that's a great tactic, because not only does it tell you like a direction, that way you're not just like setting alert, okay, it hit my mark, but did it hit my mark and rip back up? Did it hit my mark and stall? Like having that constant thing of the reminder of price action can also help you, depending on your job too. I think that's what it really boils down to, is like, I mean, you know, Bear has a ton of meetings. You have a little bit more of an open thing where you can check these things. And we all know that this is all going to be, it's going to be different variables that affect you, and you're not going to have the same thing that someone else has. So trading like someone is not going to be good for you. Like, you know, none of us are going to be able to trade like Ham. Like, let's be real here. Like, no one has the free time to be able to handle that. No one has that amount of time to do that. We all have other responsibilities, or we have a job, or we just have something that takes us away. So trying to emulate him during the day, where he has that ability to watch it constantly and every tick, every second, it's just, you can't really do that.
Let's be honest, Tim. You give me 3 miles, I'll be juggling while I'm scalping.
I want to see that. I do, because I think you'd be a little bit more frustrated. But, you know, I'm not going to use my child as an excuse, as you've said in the past. Even though he's really hard, okay? You just have to just accept this. But just understanding that, you know, if you're signing up for a service, like, I mean, and I'm just using Ham as an example. If Harrison's running a service and you're taking trades off of what he posts, you know, that person sits at a computer all day, and you're working a full-time job, whether you're in the healthcare field, engineering, construction, you're in just whatever field you're in, you can't take all those plays. So understanding what works for you, and that's why I'm kind of asking everybody these questions.
This is why I don't post any trades on Twitter anymore, because they're so short term, or so based on having to see if something happens instantly, or like it's something you have to stare at, and updating every little increment on each trade is just impossible. It's just my trading style is too quick to actually post anything, because I'm a fast term trader. Yeah.
You could be in like 1 second and then out 3 seconds later. So like
I could do some swings that I could post on Twitter, I guess, but there's just so many variables these days that it's hard to do that.
Yeah. Well, like, what happens if something just literally just changes split second, and, you know, like that person who took your trade off that swing trade, you know, didn't get to your tweet till 6 hours later, and you told them like, this is really heavy.
Yeah. And most of the time my trades aren't just based on if something hits this level you buy. Most of my trades are looking at price action and incoming order flow, and that's something that happens like live. So I would be like, look here to buy, but I can't really tell you. You would only have half of it. You wouldn't know if you bought or not, depending on what's happening with the orders. So it's just like, I can't really post anything to tell people what to buy.
Yeah. So I think that's the point of this podcast, is to kind of get people into the mindset of, you can't trade like people who do this full time, because you aren't full time. And in order to trade like them, you have to be full time. And I think trying to emulate it, even though you're not that way, you're going to lose a lot. You're going to be frustrated. And I think that's why a lot of these services, maybe, you know, while they claim gains and everything, and 90% of their subs don't get these the money returns that they do, is because, you know, they have lives, they have jobs, they're going out with friends, they're working that 9 to 5, they're doing all these things. So it's just not right, and you have to find what works for you and your job. And that's why we're exploring what Bear does, what Ham did, what Jay did, what I do. All these things is trying to figure out what works for you, because what works for me doesn't work for Bear. What doesn't work for you?
Sitting at a 9 to 5 job does not mean you have a life, compared to someone who has free time to do whatever they want all day.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean, we're not like,
I'm listening. I'm listening.
Break it down to me. What do you want to say?
I'm just saying, you know, you're either sitting in a job 9 to 5, just because you're slaving away doesn't mean you got life.
We're getting into like philosophical side of things, but yes,
and it's not calling us wage cooks.
I love my life.
Oh, you got a sick job. You have a job that you like, and so do I. So
it's true.
Right. So I think that's the thing. So like just under like I do. I mean, do you guys agree with that in the sense that us saying like here's a guideline for people with 9-to-5s and work in a desk job, here's what you should do, and if you work in construction, here's what you should do, and if you work in a physical or restaurant setting, here's what you should do. Like, I hope people are not actually expecting that, but do you think that there actually is a tactic to use for any of that? And I feel like I know the answer, but I have to hear it from everybody.
I think it works. I think it depends on it. It really depends on what your job is. I mean, if you're going off what you just said, if you're a construction worker and you're up on a roof, freaking throwing joists up, you probably shouldn't be on your phone trading. But
what would be the smart answer? But some people look for
my
that.
alert just went off. Oh.
If you're an Uber driver, you probably shouldn't be trading.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know about my Google Pixel. It minimizes, the GPS when you have charts up, so it's fine. You can do it.
Totally.
Just tell people you're using an algorithm to plan your route effectively. They won't know what you're talking about.
What it comes down to, I think, is implementing more rules that will protect you from things out of your control. So,
100%.
Say if something comes out of your control, you need to have pretty much. I don't think you can ever take a trade without a stop loss. You don't have the benefit of doing a mental stopwatch, looking at order flow or something. You need to just have a stop loss, and if you get fucked, well, you got to deal with it because that's how you're trading. So you need to always have a stop. You just have to and you should always have a stop anyway.
Yep.
I would only suggest doing mental stops if you're like very advanced, where
And sober.
and sober, and you still can get fucked. Like I get fucked sometimes when something flushes too fast.
Yeah.
Overall, I think it works. Most of the time, I try to have a stop, but a lot of times I don't. If something's very choppy, just because I think the chances of something like flushing here are so low that I'd rather not get stopped out on some bullshit. But I think it's implementing more rules that will protect you from the disadvantages that come with a job. So the first question you should ask probably is, what are the disadvantages of your job? And then what rules can you implement to kind of hedge that out of it?
I like that. That's good. That's a good way to say it, because I think, you have to find the rules that fit your job, your life, whatever's going on for you, and the same rules that apply to you don't apply to me, don't apply to Bear, don't apply to Jay, and finding what works for you. And I think exactly what you're saying. If you have but all right, so I will say this though. So a lot of people that start out use Robinhood, and using the right broker is going to be very key, especially if you're having a full-time job. And if you can't watch everything and you can't exit positions, you have to switch brokers. I'm gonna be very adamant about that, because does Robinhood actually have working stop loss, or trailing stops or anything?
I think they added some, but
I've never used it yet.
I've never used one there.
Yeah. I don't think I would trust it either.
Use TradeStation now, but if I'm YOLOing something, so to speak, if I take a trade at work without a stop, it's effectively me YOLOing because.
Okay, here's this though. I want to say one thing. So, if you're trading futures, 100% you need to stop. No doubt about that, because you're leveraged on a linear
because
up or
Trump
down.
is our president.
Yeah,
right.
But here's something. Actually, I think this is why a lot of people like options, not just because of the leverage, but
you know what you're getting.
If you just buy calls, you already have a nuclear stop loss, I like to call it. So you could only lose what you put in.
Exactly.
Like if you're leveraged on futures, if it keeps going down, you're losing linearly. So you don't want to do that without a stop. If you're doing options, if you want to buy a call that's ending next week and you put 200 in it,
if that goes to zero, you're fine.
You don't have to use a stop.
Yeah, you want to buy Peloton and throw $800.
No, what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, you could either use $1,000 with a stop, or put in $250 and don't use a stop. Just let it go to zero. Right. If the trade misses,
Right, it's true. I think that's.
I think that's.
So I'm gonna ask you this then. Do you feel like if you're working a full-time job and you're trying to trade during that job, do you think that it's better to just switch to options and just be just don't trade futures during the day?
I think so. I think futures has a lot of advantages. for a full-time day trader. Taxes, if you make over a certain amount of money, even with no commission fees on commons anymore, or options, pretty much, you're still getting the benefit of taxes on futures. You end up making more money, even by paying outrageous com fees. Also, all the order flow. The advantages of futures, though, while you're working, you're kind of missing out on. So honestly, I don't think futures would be good to trade if you're.
It's when it's most volatile, where you can make the most money.
I think too. I mean, I don't trade futures really yet. I'm still delving into that, but a lot of people aren't going to have the data they need to be able to trade futures.
Yeah, if you're on Robinhood, well, you can't even trade Robinhood.
Well, I'm not even talking Robinhood. Like, the amount of people, there's people that can remotely get into their computer from their work PC, but the amount of people that can convince their IT department to download trading software on their computer, like, yeah, I've had jobs where the IT people were idiots, and I was like, oh, I need this to do an analysis on somebody, and they're like, oh, okay. But yeah, I think there's a lot of data that you actually need.
I think where he's coming from is you might want to be friends with the IP people. Work that, get the software. Right. Maybe bribe him, take him out to lunch.
Correct.
But again,
it's tough because most of them have worse, people skills than a board.
You're not wrong.
I know, Jay.
So
I was just gonna say one more thing. I think for options is just you have a maximum stop loss, so you don't. I would suggest the best things like with options is also to be playing maybe at least a month out, because it protects you from big flushes. Big pops, you won't make as much money, but if it's not your main source of income and you're just trying to do it on the side, you don't have your eyes on the screen at all time, you can't take advantage of those things. So you have to really look deeply.
Let me tell you,
that
anything I say this whole time, weeklies are so tempting. Just don't do it.
Because it's the allure of making a huge gain.
It's the allure of being like, I made $2,000 off that. Yeah, well, you're gonna get burnt more times than you're not. Trust me.
That's the point of the account challenge. Building is
personal
better.
Experience. Here I am.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing that people have to struggle with is people want to emulate, and when they can't emulate, or when they try to emulate, it goes bad, and they're like, well, I must be doing something wrong. My technical analysis is wrong. I'm doing this. But you haven't boiled it down to the most basic thing in life is the fact that you can't emulate their life in order to emulate their trading. And I think options is the way to go if you have a job. And I think it's kind of like the almost, besides commons and typical investing, I think it's the only way to go. And it might be controversial, but like to some people out there,
I think it is
very controversial.
I think if you are playing futures, which I think there's one way you could play it with a job, but you would have to decrease your size by decrease it to like 20% of your normal size and increase your stop range. So basically, you want to be playing like intraday swings where you have an alert and it goes off, and then you could buy it and keep a pretty big stop and then keep a sell location. Now, in order to do this, you have to really be good at sizing correctly and playing smaller than normal, which, let's be honest, those are two very hard things to do for new traders.
I feel so attacked.
And if you have a full-time job...
We are just attacking you.
If you have a full-time job, you're probably not good enough to actually do that. So it's almost like a,
Well, like I think what about that too is that I think about that is that even so you talk about if you set these alerts, set orders up and everything else like that, and I think still the variable that is everyone should be worried about is the random meetings, the random phone calls with a client, the random I need to step out of the office, I need to do all these other things that literally, even though your alert goes off and yes, even though this happens and you have a buy stop sell stop is set in place, like you just can't handle that. And I think that's stupid trading. I think I never want to put myself in a position where where an outside source dictates my gains, and with options, at least if my son acts up and he's being crazy and he's throwing temper tantrums while I'm trying to run upstairs and anything else like that, I know that even if this runs to 0 and I can't do anything about it, like, I'm not dead in the water, like
you could always keep a stop on futures, but like I said, if you
What was that, Ham? You cut out.
Yeah, you cut out.
Oh, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah.
So you can probably do something similar in futures, where if you enter any trade on futures, what you probably want to do is every single time, 100%, you need to stop, because you're losing linearly and gaining linearly. So
Yeah.
It won't go to 0. It'll just keep going until you blow up your account. So
Yeah,
you have to
I
keep a
agree.
stop, and you should probably keep an OCO, which is called an order cancels order, which means you have a stop loss and you have a sell target. Whichever one hits first, it exits the other one. So if your stop hits and then it goes back up, you're not going to buy, or you're not going to sell at that other location you had a target. That one goes away.
Yeah.
Or if it goes up and you sell and then it goes back down, you're not going to short where you should have sold. So setting up OCOs could be a good way to get around this. Again, I must stress, if you can't look at it, you should be playing much smaller, 20% of your normal size while you're looking. You need big swing ranges.
Yeah, work interruptions is definitely something I plan for, because when I get interrupted, it's usually huge, and I'm not going to be back to my computer for a while.
Right. And imagine you just leaving that order, or just leaving it open. It's like,
Yeah,
I can only
And,
imagine.
uh,
Like, screw that.
a lot of times, if the trade is up, I drag it right to break even. I drag my stop to break even. My limit stays where it was, and I just let God take the wheel, and
Jesus.
I walk away.
Jesus, take the keyboard.
I just love that gif of like Jesus like flying through the window and taking the thing. It's like the best gif in the world.
Literally the best one. It's so good.
It's like, so all right, so that kind of like it kind of plays into like, I know we had one question that was talking about the OCO order bracket orders, and talking about strategies surrounding scalping, and I don't know about it, but he's talking about scaling in and scaling out.
Yeah,
I would avoid
No,
scalping.
I scalp at work, but that's because I'm literally at the computer at that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking at
When you have the
Yeah.
when you have the time, like, try to take advantage of it, I would say.
That's
Here's the thing, though.
If I'm scalping at work, I'll take the trade. But if I know that I have like a meeting or something, I'm not gonna try and scalp, knowing I'm going into something. That
I
I
just-
if I
exactly.
end up going into something, I'm gonna just sell it for either a small loss or a small gain, because it's
I
not
th-
worth the risk.
I think it's a disadvantage to be scalping, not just based on your time, but because you're like, oh, I got 10 minutes free, I'm going to try to scalp something. So you're going to force a trade.
Right?
You're not gonna let it come to
I'm
you.
not talking 10 minutes.
I know,
Well, no, I'm not.
I've
I'm
been
just
in that
talking in
position.
general.
I've
People
been in that
looking to
position.
scalp, where they're like, "Oh, I got some time. Let's go scalp some stuff," and then
Yep.
that's not really how you scalp. You let it come to you. You see something that looks open. I'm not looking at a trade and being like, "Oh, I got 10 minutes here. Let's make something happen."
Right.
You never want to do that, because you're just gonna fuck
Yeah.
it up.
No, I'm guilty of that every single day, because it's like when I'm putting Miles to bed and something else is happening, or I'm feeding him lunch or something like that, and something's about to happen, and I'm like, like, I got it, I'll focus on this, I got 10 minutes to let this play out. I'm guilty of that, but like, also at the same time, like, I know that once that time frame is up and hits, like, I'm also not going to take that position, number one, if it's not looking the way it is. But once that's out, like, and my schedule changes and now my responsibilities change, like, I'm out of that trade. Like, regardless of what happens, if it's a loss, if it's a gain, like, it's out. I can't think about what happens next. And that's how I tackle it. And it's not always the best. It's not, but like, when you get an hour and a half to 2 hours to trade, sometimes you get a little antsy, you get a little bored. And I know that's bad. And I know a lot of people out there trade that exact same way. And the desire to want to make money during the day and make it happen during that 10-minute break you get. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are guilty of that. And
If you're forcing yourself to make money, you don't.
yeah,
Like, it's so much easier to make money when you don't need the money than it is when you're like, I need to make $100 this week. So you're looking at every trade to force.
no, I hope no one's trading like that. Like, where I personally, like, look at it as like, I want to be able to, like, if there's a 2-hour gap window where he's taking a nap and I have free time, like I'm like, dude, I feel like I have to make a trade during this time because it's like it may be the only time that I get, but like I'm only gonna take it if it's a good setup. But no, if you're trading for like to reach a specific target, you're gonna get shat on left and right because it's just a mental strain and barrier that's just gonna rape you, like legitimately.
I have kind of a target that I'd like to get to, but it's different than a target that I like to reach. It's more of just somewhere like that's kind of a good range for me. I'm good just to chill the rest of the day unless something really obvious pops up, and sometimes that helps me trade because I'm not going to trade unless something looks super good. So it could actually help me by doing that.
Yeah.
I never actually force myself to be like, I need to make this amount today.
Let me ask you something.
You're going to lose money.
A little personal, and if you don't want to answer it, then I'll just edit out this question.
A little over 6 inches, Tim. We've said this on the first podcast.
Not what I was going with. If you don't hit your daily goal, does your life change? Like, legitimately, like if you. Like, I know I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want that information out there, but like if you don't hit your personal goal or daily goal that you would like to hit, does your life change?
I mean,
like do bills not get paid? Do things not happen?
No,
like,
but like minor aspects, like I might be feel a little different if I didn't hit my goal. I just might be a little more like, that sucked.
Right.
But like overall, no.
Okay, what about, and again, don't disclose any numbers if you don't want to, just if you don't hit 50% of your daily goal, does your life change? And we're talking about like months.
Even if I lost my daily goal and in the negative, nothing really would happen.
Okay.
If you lost, even if I lost my daily goal a month in a row, probably nothing would happen. Probably even half a year in a row, nothing would happen. Although I would start decreasing my size and figuring out what the fuck I'm doing wrong. But, even let's say for a week straight, I have red days.
Yeah.
No. But that's why you have to have a lot of backup money because your job is based around you need money to make money.
So that kind of leads into what I want to talk about next is the realistic goal setting and the this person I know makes $1,000 a day, $2,000, $5,000 a day, or $500 a day. What's realistic to you and what doesn't affect your life? Like, people, they can harp on these account challenges all they want and be like, oh, you made $5 today. Oh, you made $6 today. But like, overall, in the next 5 years, if I'm building that up to reach a certain point, that $5 to $6 adds to that account, and maybe in a couple months it's tenfold that, and then in a couple more months after that it's tenfold that. Like, I think setting realistic goals and like not be like, I see so many stupid things out there, like, man, if I just made $100 a day, like $100 a day is $25,000 a year. $25,000 a year is working full-time at McDonald's. And if you're doing that and working a full-time job, that's great. And then like you have to be realistic with this. Like, having 2 full-time jobs, and that's $100 a day is a lot. Like, to a lot of people, adding for the national average household income or whatever it was like 56,000. So you're adding 50% to your income over what the national average is. So I'd say don't be afraid to make $25 in a day. Don't be afraid to make $10 a day until you can consistently build an account to a higher level.
$100 a day is like what, $2,000 a month?
It's $25,000 a year.
So about, let's say $100 a day. That's $500 a week.
A little over
2,000. About 2,000, yeah.
A little.
I mean, just think how much extra you can do with just that little amount of money. That doesn't seem like a lot in your trading account. Yeah. You could be eating out every single night. You could go to the movies every night, like things like that.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, is setting those unrealistic things of like, so making $100 a day with a $50,000 account, like, should be nothing, like, because of sizing, like, or depending on if you're good or not to handle it or whatever. But if you're consistently making money and having a $50,000 account, $100 a day should be, I would say, on the easier side of things. But
yeah.
So, but now you have people like, hey, I just got a bonus from my work. I have a $500 that I can toss into a trading account. I really would like to make $100 a day. and it's like you gotta be fucking realistic here. Like you're
Wow,
use this as
call
a
me out.
oh. Well, I know it's not true, so I'm not calling you out.
You're right, I didn't get a bonus.
No. I know how much your bonus was. Shut up. But yeah, so I think on top of knowing yourself and knowing what your work is capable of doing in the time thing, I think the next logical step in the movement and advancement of this topic is setting the realistic goal. Like, do you guys have do you have a general breakdown of that?
1% of your account a day is astronomically an insane number to make.
Yeah.
Let's say you have $100,000. Let's say you have $10,000. You make $100 a day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, any hedge fund would want to suck your dick for that.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like,
do that consistently. That's insane. Yeah,
but
just
that's
like 1% of your account a day is insane.
People strive for that.
Don't even. Yeah, it's just outrageous amount of money. 1% of your account.
Full-time job too.
Yeah, think if you could invest your money 1% a day, everyone would be millionaires by like 30.
By Thursday. Like, that's basically what it would be like. And it's just, I don't know. So, but what would be the next thing to tackle in terms of understanding your own work schedule and then setting the realistic goals that you can actually achieve with your account size, what you're capable of doing? What do you think is the next logical step in order to maintaining trading with a full-time job?
One more thing. I think it's a kind of interesting topic because I think there's almost like there's a minimum bottom. It's hard to explain. There's glass ceiling, glass floor, whatever you want to call it. You know, if you have $1,000, making $10 a day, which is 1% of your account, you know, that's not that hard. But if you move it on up where you're like, you have, you know, a hedge fund size, say you have like 10 million making like every single day to consistently make 1%, the bigger account gets, the harder it will be. Mm-hmm. So like if you just have $1,000 and you make $10 a day, you know, 1% of your account, that's not that hard if you make the good trades. Mm-hmm. But the more you increase your size, the less liquidity is. You have to think, you know, you might lose here and there. So then that takes away 1%. The next day you have to make 2.5% because of the rule of numbers. So it seems easy, 1% a day, but it's really
hard
not.
as fuck.
Yeah. Because it's not just like you might have a couple days where, you know, you make 10% of your account over and over, but then one day, boom, you lost 20%.
Yeah.
And then in order to make it back, you normally need like what, 35%, because you need more percent to make it back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That cuts deep.
Are you having a problem with that? Like in terms of just like the managing the realistic expectations of things?
Absolutely. Like you guys have seen me literally going ham, like trying to double my account every week.
It's been impressive for the most part. Like I want to be real with that. Like being able to do it regardless if it's a run or not. Like if it's just market conditions are going with you, like I don't care. It's a good run. But being able to manage if it goes against you is the impressive side. Like even though he got this run, he kept that run. Like, and that's what people have to realize when you hit those, you got to keep them. So like,
yeah. Oh,
so like, I want to congratulate you with that though. Like being able to do that is awesome. Like it's great. Like bravo to you. I just don't want to see you lose it. So don't continue it when it doesn't go against, or when it starts going against you too.
Yeah, I already cut size after my incident.
Is it the drunken incident?
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. And so maybe you know what I would say, maybe that's the actual next step to in terms of progressing the how to trade with a full-time job is the emotional side of things.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah. So, and a lot of people say, well, I'm not emotional, or I'm not going through something or whatever, you know, like what if, you know, you're going through something that's hard with the family, you know, like you know, or work has got you down, or, you know, you got something, you just had a hard relationship that just happened or something like that. And please don't go into any details whatsoever, but have you guys tried to trade through any of that before? And anybody can jump in.
Yeah, I have, and that it didn't work out well. I pretty much quit after 2 days, and I was like, "Hey guys, I'll be back.
Yeah.
I'll catch you later."
And what was it
I came
like
back and I
trading
was
through
ready.
those 2 days for like someone who hasn't been through that and like, well, what does that feel like? How do I know when I'm at that point? Is it
Basically, I
just
was-
losses or is it just like confusion of like what's going on?
I was feeling kind of completely numb, but like not in a good way, like being numb to the market and making good decisions, just being numb to like losing money. Like, yeah, it's losing, whatever, and just letting the loser just keep going.
Yeah. Like the kind of like last episode, the Ham brought it up with the risk aversion, or I can't even remember what he said last time, but about it. Do you remember what it was, Ham?
Oh yeah, there's a couple of those, but the main topic of actually that's kind of the opposite though, because the main topic is usually you hate losing more than you like winning.
Yeah.
So
Also,
when you have a loser, usually you'll do a bigger risk to get that money back than you would if you have a winner. Usually you take your winners fast. Where that sounds like a good thing, take your winners, but in the market when there's momentum, a lot of times you want to let your winners run and cut your losers fast.
Okay. Like, have you had that problem too, where like there's something going on and you tried to trade through it into like as a necessarily like an escape, like from what's going on and whatever, and like did it go well for you? Did it dip a little? Did it make you, or just how did it go for you in general?
My trading's pretty mechanical.
Okay.
So I try to keep emotions out of it. So I don't think it would affect me as much as other people. But yeah, definitely if you're not in the right mind frame, I guess.
Yeah,
you call it
I know
in
what you
English.
mean.
In English, you call it mind frame.
We've all had a little drink or two, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think that's drinking. I'm retarded with English.
No, we'll blame it on the alcohol. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah. So basically, I just think if you're not in the right mind frame, it's better. I think the best thing to do is sometimes you still want to trade. You might just want to decrease your size like by a lot. I think that's what a lot of it comes down to. Just decrease your size, and just in general, I think if you decrease your size, you'll probably do better long term. Sizing is such an important factor of trading that people disregard.
Yeah, all right, I would agree. What about Bear? What about you? Like, have you tried to trade through any emotionally hard time, just a mentally hard time, or you don't need to go into details if you don't want to or anything about anything? But what was it like going through?
I'm fully retarded, and I tried to like trade through moving across the country and moving jobs and moving positions and having a kid. I've tried to trade through it all. So.
And how does it typically go for you? And what do you do to?
Horribly.
How do you identify it? I think is the thing.
For me, it immediately starts going to riskier plays.
Like further out the money? Is that what you're saying?
Further out the money, shorter expiration, spending more than I usually do, having the idea in my head that, maybe if I just add a little bit more funds right now, I could take this one too. Those stupid ideas that never work out.
By the way, hot tip. If you're ever losing money on the day and you're thinking about adding more money to make that money back, don't do it. That's like one of the easiest ways to lose money.
That is a solid tip, and one that I wish someone gave me a year ago.
Right.
Robinhood makes it so easy though with the instant transfer.
They do.
Like, I'll just deposit $100 real quick just to take this position. Yeah. It's instant.
Wait a second. Wait, this is moving pretty quick. I only need to deposit $6 more. Well, you do that 400 times, and buddy, you got a problem.
Right. I'm not gonna lie. I've been guilty of that a few times. Like,
of course.
All right, I'll just add it there, whatever.
Oh, I've done it too, but not on Robinhood.
And then my bank calls me and they're like, "Did you mean to make like 16 different $4 deposits?" I'm like, "Well, it was running."
You don't even know. All right, you don't even know.
You know what? If you guys would have been faster, I would have caught the first one.
I've done it before where I've like had a big losing day. And it's not Robinhood instant. I fucking have to wire that over and pay money to get it instantly.
No.
So I'm like, wire that shit over, pay the $30, fuck this. It just never works because you're tilted.
I feel like we laugh all about it because we know like it always goes
and
against
you
us.
you should use Robinhood. You don't have to pay that wiring fee.
I know, right? But you could only send over like what, $1,000.
It's 2,000. I
Pro
think
tip for the night.
yeah. Use Robinhood when you really
Pro
want to.
tip for the night. Use Robinhood if you want to double down your losses.
All right, so
but yeah,
go ahead, sorry,
I've
go
tried
ahead.
to trade through those times, and for me, I immediately start trading more emotionally, and I start being more risky. And I've learned to identify that pretty quickly and get pissed off at myself. And the best thing to do is just walk away from it. There's always going to be another trade, and I know it's hard to it's hard to see that when you're like,
there'll always be
"Oh,
another
but
shop.
I could get
There's
this. I
always
could get this. And
Shop was the new hottest thing. Like I was running like crazy. Dude,
You know the thing about
times.
saying these things though is, I think 99.9% of people will not take the advice because they think they're the exception.
Yeah,
It's kind of with everything where it's like,
and that's why I'm and that's what
because you
kills
think
me,
you think you're too good.
yeah. No, that's not
100%.
me. They're talking about some other dude. Like no, we're talking about
I'm
you.
talking about you.
You
Yeah,
person.
It's totally you, buddy.
You that I'm in your ear holes right now. I'm talking to you.
We know you've lost a
No,
lot.
I think the best thing that I've done is to, for me at least, is I'm like a year and a half, almost 2 years into this, is not using a lot of money, and I still haven't scaled much larger because I'm still learning so much about myself and how I trade emotionally. And when you can paper trade all you want, which you should absolutely paper trade, but
You should have a strategy that works. Or
once
something.
you have real money on the line, it's such a different ball game. And don't go in like these people that go in throw thousands of dollars down, like, oh, I'm gonna make $1 million.
Throw like a college tuition down on
You're
something.
not going to make $1 million. You're gonna end up on
No,
a
but
Wall
what if it
Street
hits
bet.
though, man? Just what if it hits?
Then guess what? Then you're gonna do it again and you're gonna fuck it up.
Yep.
Yeah, you're gonna be like
You lose it
that.
all anyway.
You're gonna be like that old divorce guy that's at
Not
the
me,
casino
man.
in
Not
Vegas
me.
That's
I'm so
crying at
different.
the roulette table. Well, I hit 000 green once. Well, keep trying, buddy.
Right. So, all right, so the emotional side of things, and I think that's a perfect way to finally jump into that last topic of, the last thing that we kind of need to hit is fighting the FOMO when things get moving, and especially being a mobile trader sometimes, or having a job and seeing it, and you're just like, I use this as an example, like, oh my fucking god, shop, here it goes, it's running again, it's going crazy, I gotta get in this, it's gonna keep going. It's like as a person with a full-time job, mobile trading, whether you're at home or you're running your own business, whatever it is, like I think the answer is simple to this, but I'm not going to give my answer first. Is fighting the FOMO of getting into a trade with the limited opportunities that you have as a job. Like, what do you do to do that? Anybody can start us off.
It's a hard question, Tim.
Yeah, so I mean,
I'm gonna be honest. I don't really fight the FOMO at all. Like, if I feel I still have an opportunity,
yeah,
I hop in and manage risk. Once I'm in the trade, and I let the trade take over. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong,
cool.
And it's just that. But like, when I literally am just taking my phone out of my pocket because it's going off, probably won't take that trade because most of the time I'm getting burnt on trades like that.
Okay.
Where like the alert went off on my pocket, phone comes out, takes like 15 seconds for TradeStation to log in and load up, finally pull up the chart.
Don't you have a face thing where it just enters it automatically?
Yeah, it does. It still takes forever though.
That's why I can't mobile trade. And then the verification for toss, like trying to enter and exit trades, like ugh.
Well, the other
the
problem
3
with
steps
that
to
is
put in
that
your orders.
Yep.
the other problem with that is all black people look the same. So if,
It logged you into someone else's account.
Thank God there's only one black guy in all of Okinawa.
Yeah, there you go. Quick login for you.
I wish that was true. Oh my god, I'd be a prince.
But Bear, like, do you have anything that goes against, like, not goes against, but like any ways of tackling fighting FOMO when you get your phone buzzes, you get a notification, or you get that you're in the bathroom, you spend some time in there, and you see a trade.
Sometime that dude's building a fucking fort.
That's correct.
All right, so just a simple answer of fighting FOMO. Do you have the problem of fighting FOMO? If you do, what do you do to try to beat it?
I do because, and I'm still working on ways to beat it, but I do because I'll see something that, I generally follow the same stocks every day, and I'll see something and I'm pretty confident I know it's going to move, but I know that I also have a meeting in like 15 minutes, and I'm like, I should be able to pull my phone out under the table and like monitor this.
Right.
But I've learned. I'd say the hardest thing for me is shifting positions at work, is learning a new way of trading in a new position at work. And so for this one specifically, it's extremely important for me not to take those trades, because when I'm in these meetings, I'm generally the one that has to be talking. And so it's really stupid to take the trade.
Right.
So, hold up. Roku's popping right now, guys.
Roku.
Like this. Like
BIIB salted.
Here we go.
For example,
like, Ham, have you had this problem like of fighting FOMO and what do you use to
usually
it?
My fighting FOMO comes with since I always have screen time, big moves that I'm like, do I want to jump in or not? And usually I say, bottoms up, motherfucker, we're going in. No. Okay,
wow,
so usually what I do is I'll just buy a few micros. Usually I'll just buy a few micros to be part of the party, and I feel like I'm not missing out. Even though, like, if it absolutely goes the opposite way, then I don't lose a lot. I can't really make that much, but I don't expect to, because it's so far into a move.
Okay.
I think trading smaller sizes is better than sitting on my hands for me, because I stay active. It gets rid of the FOMO. I'm not like trying to force anything, because sitting on my hands is pretty hard. I used to have a separate account for paper trading where I would just kind of fuck around paper trading if I wanted to enter something and I didn't want to use real money.
Yeah.
But now that micros are out, I just buy some micros. I lose $50. Fuck it.
Lotto tickets.
I think that was another thing that I think either you told me about that or somebody else was that there was their plan was to, for the first hour of the day, they just paper traded to just kind of get a feel for the action and do it. And then that way when they switch to a live account, they already were trading and they kind of got the flow of things down. And I think if you have that time, that's a great tactic to use, because
I don't like
seeing it.
I think there's pros and cons to that. I think at one point you don't really want to play real trades you wouldn't play just to force something on paper, because then you're going to get in and I've been playing weird shit. But I think in general, just take a trade that you're like, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think it's going to be pretty good. Maybe I'll go in 1/3 of the size, and stuff like that keeps you active. It keeps you from sitting on your hands.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's a good way to try to kind of transition into that, though. All right, so I kind of want to end it there. We hit all the questions that people had answered or asked us through DM and all the other things through full-time jobs, scalping, futures, trading, trading different markets, different times, after-hour strategies, FOMO, and everything else. Did we miss anything that you feel like, if I could just get this point across, like trading with a job is this and that? Does anybody have anything else that they want to add at all?
Yeah, I just real quick want to add, it's really easy to get caught up in you're going to make a bunch of money off of trading thing. And if you have a full-time job, there's a reason you have a full-time job. And until you're making, like, I would estimate 3 times what your salary is or your income is off of trading consistently, your income's coming from your job. So don't let your trading impact your job.
All right, the people that hit it big for a month and be like, all right, I'll quit my job.
Yeah, don't sit there thinking that you scalping Apple options and getting yourself in trouble or not getting your work done at work is going to make you rich. Well, you're going to end up getting fired, and then you're going to be the
That's a good
idiot
point.
at home in your parents' basement trading Robin Hood. So make sure you have your priorities straight and, focus on it.
Yeah.
You have to look at how you made the money too. Did you make it on a gamble? Are you consistently getting? If you're consistently getting stopped out and making good trades, you're cutting your losers. You get stopped out a bunch. You make some good trades. If you just went on a streak and you just won every single time, then I probably wouldn't trust that. You're not just going to keep winning every time.
Right.
I think you make 3 times the amount you make to quit your job. 1/3 of the money is pretty much guaranteed money unless you get fired. It's probably good.
That's my thing.
Even double. I think even if you make double your salary, as long as you're making it in the correct way.
Yeah, and it's not just like I gambled hard on something and I made a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very dependent on what your salary is and stuff, because you got to take into account benefits and everything like that. Like for me, it would not make sense for
taxes.
me to go to full-time trading unless I was making
well above
a vastly significant amount.
Yeah.
So I think that that's just important to clarify and put that out there.
That's good.
It's cool to learn this, and I think you should learn this, and I think that it's awesome, and it's a way to make extra income. And if you can consistently figure it out, keep your emotions in check, and
just even for your IRA and learning, maybe I should enter this trade. You see something you want to invest in, knowing an advantage when to enter on the chart for a long-term trade. Just knowing the basics behind investing, learning to trade, I think just can help you.
100%.
Just even if you never want to trade full-time job, that's cool, but you have the benefit of knowing how to invest your money smartly.
Yeah.
And I know this is it's a trading podcast, but I think that it's just important to say, make sure you have all of your stuff set up before you start throwing your money into trading. It's just it's not worth throwing away a bunch of money trying to scalp these things. Even as Ham just said, learning to maybe swing trade or something in your IRA is great, but you need to make sure that you have yourself set up, max out your 401k at work, max out everything that you possibly can before you start taking money and throwing it into trading, which the vast majority of people are going to lose their money. You may be the exception. I hope you're the exception, but the reality is you're probably not going to be. So make sure you're not risking your family or your personal livelihood to to chase this dream of being a professional or even a trader on the side.
Yeah. Jay, is there any other things that you wanted to add to that?
He's like, I shouldn't have put all my money chasing my dream.
It's trying to be full-time like Ham, still not working out.
No, but
But
go ahead.
I think trading with a job, just be realistic. How much actual time do you have at work to trade? Because I have a lot more than most. So that's a little bit of an edge I have over you out there listening.
Yeah.
My job allows me to sit at a computer and kind of just mess around all day.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's perfect. Yeah.
Once you figure out the time, figure out what software allows you to get some type of, so wherever you're entering your trade, you can get there. You can get your app open and start monitoring it, provided you have time to enter.
Yeah. And I think that's a great way to kind of transition into the thing that I wanted to say, and just for closing remarks, is just that is why these account challenges, these $50 account challenges, $100 account challenges are perfect, because if your full-time job allows you to risk $50 like it's nothing, and I hope that everybody listening can risk $50, because it's a meal with 2 people out one night a week, and you just don't do that one night a week, and then you could partake in this, and you can see if you can consistently maintain money, make money, and then once you can do that, you get an idea of what you're capable of doing, and moving forward, you can start using it as a side income, or if you're doing extremely fucking well, you transition something higher from that point. But knowing how to make money with little money means that you're always going to be able to make money regardless. You're not going to need $1,000. You're going to need to go out there and do some dirty work in order to make $1,000, so just that you can try to make money. Exactly. So take part in these challenges. Challenge yourself, challenge your ability to know that you can make a small amount and build it up to something bigger, because that something bigger will lead to something even more bigger. So consider that when doing that.
And if I may, again, I know I'm kind of being a negative Nancy on this, but I'm very, adamant about it. If you are making $8 an hour working at Target, I think it's better for you to, yes, you should try and learn this still. It's great to have as many streams of income as you can possibly have, but focus on getting yourself to a point where you have a consistent stream of income somewhere. The reality is that it's probably not going to be from trading for a long time.
Yep.
And so do not sacrifice your level of quality at work.
Right. Once you have enough money, then you can just astronomically increase your income if you get good at it. Or if you're like a fucking professional, give me $1,000, I can make this shit happen. It's gonna be hard, but if you're just learning, you're fucked.
Not to say that somebody working somewhere can't do really well at this and get
the exception, not the rule.
Make a bunch of money. Yeah, but the reality is that you'll see people on Twitter posting up, I called this and I exited perfectly and I entered perfectly and I made $36,000 a day, blah, blah. Yeah, everybody wants that. Everybody wants to chase that. The reality is you're never going to make that in your entire life ever consistently trying. And so do not sacrifice, your livelihood and your quality.
Even I ignore every single post like that and shake my head nope, that's not consistent. Don't chase that.
It's a marketing tool, and we kind of all know that. I hope everybody knows that. But yeah,
I'm a big advocate of that, and I know this is a trading podcast, and I trade every single day. I love trading. But not if it starts impacting my quality of work, where my real money is coming from.
Yeah. And non-ironically or ironically, I don't know what you want to call it, using that kind of mind is what's going to help you when you trade, because you're making smart investments with your time.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, as long as you're doing that and you're not thinking, I just made $20 off of scalping this. Well, I'd have to work 2 hours to make that. Well, then you're going to consistently keep doing that, and you're going to end up losing it, and then you're going to end up sitting there watching your phone instead of stocking shelves somewhere, and you're going to get in trouble, So I just make sure you have your priorities in mind, and then
if you have some extra money, you want to save some extra money on the side and then start messing with it on Robinhood, no commissions. That's great.
Exactly.
And that's how I originally started. Was I started just putting $20 a paycheck into a Robinhood account, and then until I had $1,000 in there, and I started playing around with it. Now I have a lot more.
Instead of getting those extra two drinks at the bar, you save that.
Yep.
In a couple months, you have $200 to fuck around.
Yep. Exactly.
So just
don't bring your phone to the bar
and trade from the bar while trying to play darts.
We're giving you guys a lot. These are free life lessons.
These are great. These are great.
These are things we have personally been through. Jay is a textbook of things not to do.
All right, though. So I think that's a perfect way to end it. We got the life lesson. We got all the tactics on what to use, on how to trade with a job, and just everything in general. I think it was a great breakdown of everything. What we will be running into next is my favorite that I like to do every single week. I think a few people are sticking around for this one as well. Is we are going to play Thru of the Week.